my dear children. So today we are going to start a new chapter from Moments, that is The Last Sleep, written by O. Henry. O. Henry was a prolific American short story writer, a master of surprise ending who wrote about the life of ordinary people in New York City. A twist of plot which turns on an ironic or coincidental circumstance is typical of O. Henry's stories. So the characters in this story are Johnsy, Sue, Mr. Behrman, and the doctor. So before we begin with the story and line by line explanation here, let me tell you something about the story in brief. Long ago, the town of Florence faced a crisis. The Artsville Street was losing faith in its artist. What was the reason? Painters and artists who once raised the spirit of these streets now turned their heads away from colors. The reason was poverty, because the artists and the painters were paid very less. But still, a few were there who kept their spirits up and worked as usual. So again, as you have read in the biography of Sharapova, isn't it, Reach for the Top, Part 2. She wisely said over there that money is motivation for working hard, but then everybody should dream and chase their dream. Fine. So it's all about your passion. It's about money, but then it's also about your passion. It's also about following your dreams, chasing your dreams and your passion. So as I told you, the reason was poverty. Art was loved by all, but the artists and painters were paid very little. Slowly, the street, I'm talking about the Artsville Street, okay, it lost its luster. Parents started taking colors away from their children. They took colors away from their children. Only few brave artists kept work alive. They kept their work alive. And those artists were Sue and Johnsy. They were not only painters, but they were not only co-artists, you can see, but they were also best friends. They were good friends. So here in the story, as we read the story, you will just go through many themes hidden in the story, beneath the story. Okay, so let's explore and start the story. It is autumn, the wind is blowing hard and it is raining heavily. All the leaves on an ivy creeper have fallen except one. Why doesn't the last fall? So let's explore, let's read the story and find out. Sue and Johnsy, two young artists, shared a small flat. The flat was on the third story of an old house. Johnsy fell very seriously ill in November. She had pneumonia. Please note down the spelling of pneumonia, which is very important, and learn it. She would lie in her bed without moving, just gazing out of the window. Sue, her friend, became very worried. She sent for the doctor. She called the doctor. Although he came every day, there was no change in Johnsy's condition. It was becoming terrible day by day. One day, the doctor took Sue aside and asked her, "Is anything worrying Johnsy?" "No," replied Sue. "But why do you ask?" The doctor said. "Johnsy, it seems, has made up her mind that she is not going to get well. If she doesn't want to live, medicines will not help her. It means if you have given up the hope of living, where there's a will, there's a way. So, Johnsy has given up the hope of living or being alive. So, in this case, the doctor says, medicines will not help her." Sue tried her best to make Johnsy take an interest in things around her. She talked about clothes and fashions, but Johnsy did not respond. She ignored the things. Johnsy continued to lie still on her bed. Sue brought her drawing board into Johnsy's room and started painting. To take Chauncey's mind off means to divert her mind, okay? Of her illness, she whistled while working. Suddenly, Sue heard Chauncey whisper something. She quickly rushed to the bed and heard Chauncey counting backwards. And what was she counting? She was looking out of the window and was saying 12. After some time, she whispered 11, then 10, then 9, 8, 7. Sue anxiously, eagerly looked out of the window. She saw an old ivy creeper, which was a plant over there, climbing halfway. Creeper up the brick wall opposite the window. In the strong wind outside, the creeper was shedding its leaves, so the leaves had started falling. What is it, dear? Sue asked. 6, whispered Chauncey. They're falling faster now. 3 days ago, there were almost 100 leaves. There are only 5 left now. It is autumn, and we all know what happens in autumn season, said Sue. Isn't it? So it's autumn. Come on, take it very casually. It's nothing as such. And the leaves will fall. So that is the natural phenomenon, says Sue to Chauncey. When the last leaf falls, I will die, said Chauncey with finality. So she was very sure that when the last leaf is going to fall, her death is near and she would die. I have known this for the last 3 days. Oh, that's nonsense, replied Sue. What have old leaves to do with your getting well? The doctor is confident that you will get better. Chauncey did not say anything. Sue went and brought her a bowl of soup. I don't want any soup, said Chauncey. She has given up all her hope of living. I'm not hungry. Now there are only 4 leaves left. I want to see the last one fall before it gets dark. Then I will sleep forever. Sleep forever means she was very sure that she would die with the fall of that last leaf which was there on Ivy Creeper. Sue sat on Chauncey's bed, kissed her, and said, "You're not going to die. I can't draw the curtain for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for us. Please, my dear friend," she begged Chauncey. So here what we find is that Sue is a very strong-headed girl, isn't it? And she faced every problem very graciously. But Chauncey was just the opposite of Sue. Okay? You can see the friendship between both of them. They seem to be best friends, isn't it? You are not going to die, she says. I can't draw the curtain, for I need the light. I want to finish the painting and get some money for us. Please, my dear friend, she begged Chauncey, promise not to look out of the window while I paint. All right, said Chauncey. Finish your painting soon, for I want to see the last leaf fall. I'm tired of waiting. I have to die. So let me, have you ever seen a person eagerly waiting for his death? No, I haven't. So let me go away peacefully like one of those poor, tired leaves. You can see, hopeless, isn't it? Hopeless child lying on the bed waiting for the last leaf to fall down. Try to sleep, said Sue. I have to paint an old miner. I will call Behrman up to my model. Sue rushed down. Behrman lived on the ground floor. He was a 60-year-old painter. His lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece, but that had remained a dream. So here we are introduced with a new character, that is Mr. Behrman, okay, who is 60-year-old painter, and his lifelong dream was to paint a masterpiece. And he worked, when you read the story, you'll come to know how dedicated artist he is. He did not work for money, rather he worked for his passion. He worked to keep his passion alive. Okay, so let's go ahead. She told him how Chauncey was convinced that she would die when the last leaf fell. Is she stupid? Asked Behrman. How can she be so foolish? She's running a high temperature, complained Sue. She refuses to eat or drink, and that worries me a lot. I'll come with you and see Johnsy, Behrman said. They tiptoed, they walked slowly into the room. Tiptoed means to walk slowly. Johnsy was sleeping. Sue drew the curtains together and they went to the next room. She peeped out through the window. There was only one leaf on the cripple. It was raining heavily and an icy cold wind was blowing. It seemed as though the leaf would fall any minute now. Behrman did not say a word. He went back to his room. Johnsy woke up next morning. In a feeble voice, feeble means weak voice, she asked Sue to draw the curtains. Sue was nervous. She drew back the curtains very reluctantly. Oh, Sue exclaimed as she looked off the vine. Creeper, ivy creeper. Look, there's still one leaf, the last leaf, on the creeper. It looks quite green and healthy. In spite of the storm and the fierce winds, it didn't fall. So this line has a deeper meaning. It means whatever circumstances may be in your life, or whatever circumstances may be, we must face it. We must face the problems. Okay? We must not give up. I heard the wind last night, said Johnsy. I thought it would have fallen. It will surely fall today. Then I will die. You won't die, said Sue energetically, with a ray of hope. You have to live for your friends. What would happen to me if you die? Johnsy smiled weakly and closed her eyes. After every hour or so, she would look out of the window and find that leaf was still there. It seemed to be clinging to the cripple. Clinging means hanging. Still, it was stuck to the cripple. In the evening, there was another storm, but the leaf did not fall. Johnsy lay for a long time looking at the leaf. Then she called out to Sue. I have been a bad girl. You have looked after me. You have looked after me means you have taken care of mine. Me so lovingly, and I have not cooperated with you. I have been depressed and gloomy. Gloomy means sad. The last leaf has shown me how wicked I have been. I have realized that it is a sin to want to die. It is not actually what human beings should desire. What is destined. Nobody will be able to stop or can stop the things what is there in our fate. So that's what she explains here and feels sorry and apologizes for her behavior. Sue hugged Johnsy. Then she gave her lots of hot soup and a mirror. Johnsy combed her hair and smiled brightly. In the afternoon, the doctor came. After examining his patient, he told Sue, Johnsy now has the will to live. I'm confident she will recover soon. Now I must go downstairs and see Behrman. He is also suffering from pneumonia, but I'm afraid there is no hope for him. Let's move on. The next morning, Sue came and sat on Johnsy's bed. Taking Johnsy's hands in her, she said, I have something to tell you. Mr. Behrman died of pneumonia this morning. He was ill for only 2 days. The first day, the janitor. You can see the meaning over here. A person whose job is to look after a building. Okay? Found him on his bed. His clothes and shoes were wet and he was shivering. He had been out in that stormy night. So Florida at that time was facing, severe outbreak of disease called pneumonia. So Behrman also died of this disease. Then they found a ladder and a lantern still lighted lying near his bed. There were also some brushes and green and yellow paints on the floor near the ladder. Johnsy dear, said Sue, look out of the window. Look at the ivy leaf. Haven't you wondered why it doesn't flutter when the wind blows? That's a Behrman's masterpiece. Finally, he is alive in form of his art. Okay, William Shakespeare in one of his sonnets said, what we can give to posterity. He made his friend alive in the form of poetry, in the form of poem. Okay, so that is the work of art, isn't it? He painted it the night the last leaf fell. Fine. So the story explores the question of what motivates a person to choose hope over a defeatist attitude. When Johnsy is stricken with pneumonia, she feels both life and hope draining from her. She is certain she will die soon and tells Sue, when the last leaf falls, I must go too. She has forgotten the dreams she had of painting the Bay of Naples. She has forgotten even the importance of her relationship, that is, her friendship with Sue. But when she believes she sees the last leaf clinging to the tree, her hope returns. Something has made that last leaf stay here. Johnsy tells Sue at the end of the story the fact that the leaf is actually just a painting. That doesn't matter, as Behrman has anticipated. It serves its purpose in changing Johnsy's mind about time. So Behrman is a foil to Johnsy, a character who helps to define another character by showing opposite traits. Johnsy is young with a future ahead if she can only recover from her illness. He is an elderly alcoholic. He also holds on to hope where Johnsy has given up. The hope that he will one day paint his masterpiece. He will chase his dream and fulfill his dream. He did that. With the painting of the last leaf, he fulfills his dreams and restores Johnsy's life while losing his own. And the other theme is friendship is worth sacrifice. The idea that friendship makes sacrifice worthwhile is a major theme of the last leaf. The self-sacrificing Sue toils to help her sick companion as the elderly Behrman paints in the rain and snow to save Johnsy's life. Both of them fearfully watch the clock, hoping for a miracle to happen. When Johnsy gets sick, Sue is ready to do anything to help her. She motivates her, and finally she succeeds, and she becomes, or she was successful in accomplishing her task. Okay, and it is all about the importance of art, how art, a piece of art, can bring hope and light in someone's life, isn't it? The importance of art is threaded throughout the story. When the doctor asks Sue what might be troubling Johnsy, Sue mentions art. Johnsy, she says, always wanted to go to Italy and paint the Bay of Naples, which is not mentioned in the story over here. The doctor dismisses the notion. To him, a man of science, art isn't an important enough reason to live. He suggests romance or perhaps new clothing is better substitute. It may be the reason, the doctor says. But to Johnsy, there is nothing more worth troubling over than art. She has come all the way from California to be an artist in New York. The author's way of signaling her hope has returned is to have her say, I want to paint the Bay of Naples. Behrman has always talked of painting a great picture, a masterpiece, despite his lack of success. As voiced by Sue, the leaf he paints to allow Johnsy to live another day is this great masterpiece. It helps Johnsy live in order to paint again. So here he is alive in form of his masterpiece. Hope you have understood the story and the theme that is underlined beneath the story. Thank you, children, and